Webinar is actually the need of the hour. So thank you so much. So I'm Chinmay Devgaonkar, the Managing Director with Food Chain ID India. And many of the oil industry especially knows us through non-GMO certification because back then we were the pioneer in doing the non-GMO certification for, especially for oil industry. Food Chain ID, I have about 25 years of experience out of which 22 years in the auditing field, certification field, and associated with FSSI as National Resource Person, have been involved in FAO, writing down the documentation, the prerequisite program for FAO for ASEAN countries, trained Dubai municipality officials, Kazakhstan officers, etc., and have been to more than 65 countries for various activities. That's a short background on myself. And the company, Food Chain ID, is an American company with nearly 60,000 plus clientele in agri and food and beverage packaging industry. We are essentially into the certification, DNA testing, training, and regulatory advisory activity and digital tools. So that's a short background of myself and the company that I'm representing. So since it's a world of certification, so that's where I would be talking about. Please feel free to stop me or put your questions in the chat box related to any topic that you would like to understand. Next slide, Ganesh. Yeah. So I'm going to talk on various types of certification and what are the regulatory requirements associated with certifications. And then the floor will be open for question and answers, maybe at the end of my presentation or together after all the presentations. So this is the agenda. Next slide. So let's see world of certification. If the chat box is open, which I can see it's open, I would like to know from participant, just put your answers in the chat box that how many certifications do you know? Or number of certifications do you think are there? Anyone can put in the chat box that how many certifications would be there, different types of certification. Any comments in the chat box? At least someone has started. Okay, ISO, RSOP, RSPO, and Halal certifications. Okay. 40 different types of certification. Neela has said that. That's good. Kosher, in addition. Yes, Nilmani. FSSC, BRC. Okay. Chetan, that's the food safety certifications. Okay, good. FSSI. That's where I was actually looking at. Okay, FSSI. So how many of you feel that FSSI is a certification? AIBBRC Halal. Okay, I got it. Thank you so much. But just to proceed further, and definitely Sachin is going to cover in his presentation, FSSI is not certification, FSSI is license to operate. And then the audits that you undergo are part of licensing activity, and it's not a separate third-party certification. That's right, Shubhangi, that's right, it's a license. So next slide, Ganesh. So let me tell you how.
Sorry, Chinmay,
Yeah.
sorry to disturb you. I just joined. Pramod here.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I was in the flight and you continue. So there will be three presentation as we said that 10 minutes each. Chinmay followed with Sanjay and then Sachin. And look forward for panel discussion. Chinmay, you continue. Sorry for delay joining. I was in the
Okay.
flight.
Thank you. So now if you see this supply chain, I guess Ganesh, this presentation is in PDF format, or if it's in the, I'm not sure, this is in PDF, you have converted that to PDF? That's okay. So I will go from left to right, right to left. So you look at this, the manufacturing plant, focus it over here on manufacturing plant. Now, when we started off, about 23 years back, it was more on HACCP, ISO 20, then came the ISO 22000, and then came GFSI certification, which were essentially the food safety certifications, the BRC, FSSC, IFSSK, where, the names that came in, they're part of the food safety certification. And that's where the certification began in the food industry. Then there were different aspect that came in, European customers, American customers, and they were like, okay, you have basic food safety certification, that's fine, but I want to know what is your social compliance. I want to know how you are treating your employees in your organization. I want to know what are your environmental footprints. And that's where the other set of certifications in the form of social, environmental, health and safety standards, they started coming in. So it used to be essentially earlier the domain of, let's say, construction industry, automobile industry, and then eventually in the food industry, it started becoming popular because everybody wanted to know not just the food safety, but all the respective other standards. After this one, then came the third phase in the industry, which was more about energy conservation, business continuity, information security, etc. And all the ISO certifications associated with this, ISO 50,000, ISO 27,000, ISO blah, blah, blah. Even the number of management system certification, they started coming in, becoming popular because the organization wanted to show much more than what the normal one is doing and how the organization is different and caring for rest of the, and especially from the, sustainability footprint. Then there was this phase of product certification. I would say it was in between. So this product certification became what you have just mentioned, non-GMO, organic, kosher, halal, all these became like a product certification. So we had management system certification focusing on various parameters. And then we have product certification, which focused on the exact, what we call it as identity preserve certification, because the product identity is preserved. And that's when this became popular. And then the era, the last, after this public, the regulation change wherein the listed companies have to report their sustainability footprint along with their financial report, then this sustainability certification started coming in. And this sustainability certification straightway requires organization to go up to farming level. And this farming level sustainability footprints are associated with all certifications available on with respect to demonstrating sustainability compliances with respect to people, profit, and planet. So when we say sustainability, it talks of 3 Ps. And there are, if I have to ask you, how many certifications do you know which are related to sustainability? And I can bet that you would be surprised with that number that are available, voluntary certification, voluntary sustainability standards available. They are 567 sustainability standards. Just imagine. And these sustainability standards are commodity specific. Even within commodity, there are a number of sustainability standards. And all these sustainability standard requires manufacturing organization or processing or export houses to go to farm level, covering RM supplier, warehouse, transportation chain. And when the certificate comes, covering all the, manufacturing to farm, covering the entire ecosystem, they are called as chain of custody certifications, or in the regulatory market, it's called as ESG footprints, the ESG certifications. 567, that's the number. So it's really a vast field. And when it comes to oil industry, for a soya, there is RTRS, for there is Proterra, then there is standard for sunflower, then there is standard for canola oil. So there are number of standard, number of sustainability footprints, which is now one of the key aspect when an investor want to know that what is your green footprint. When your customer wants to know that, okay, show me your sustainability footprint, show me that you are certified to some standard, because they have made a commitment that I will be carbon neutral, I will be water neutral, etc. by so and so period. So that's when you are, if you recollect, your customers are asking you for sustainability footprint certifications. Okay, thank you. So next slide, Ganesh. So this is the supply chain, and this is a general supply chain that I am talking about. And so there are various, if we take that into primary production, which is divided into agriculture, seafood, fresh fruit, animal farms, etc. There are a number of certifications. Then comes processing plant, and then there are voluntary product standards. So all this is with respect to the primary and the manufacturing side. Next slide. And this is with respect to warehouses, logistics, agents and brokers, traders, animal feed, pet feed or pet food, which is anyway a byproduct of the oil industry, food packaging and food equipment manufacturers. So as you can see, entire supply chain is being covered either through product or either through management system or through quality management system or food safety management system certification. And this entire chain is a part of now compliance has to be demonstrated. Yes, you will get, I think, Ganesh, I mean, Mehta sir, I guess to the participant, are we going to share this PPT?
Yes, we'll share.
Yeah, thank you. Next slide. So this Dil Mange More saga is with related to sustainability, right? Because customers are, although there are so many certifications here, but still the customers Dil Mange More saga is still continued. So what is the Dil Mange More saga? Next one. This one, the sustainability footprints. So forest, carbon footprint, cropland, pasture, built-up land, fishery. I mean, there are a number of sectors in which these sustainability footprints, which I mentioned to you in the previous slide, are existing. And what are, how many? I just tried to take out some of the sustainability footprints certifications. Next one. Yeah, so before that, I think this is related to the SDGs. So all sustainability footprints are linked, certifications are linked with the SDGs, because every company, especially the listed company or your listed sub-customer, they want to show compliance with SDGs, and SDG compliance means supply chain control and supply chain. So the sustainability footprint of supply chain will impact their sustainability score, and that's where these ones are. So if you really see SDGs, there are 5 SDGs with which the food related or oil industry related certification, the activities are matched. Okay, next one. Yeah, so some of them I cannot list on 567, and trust me, it is really bizarre. अगर हम sustainability certification के जो labels है, logos है, अगर if you start putting that, शायद हमारे लेवल पे जगह ही नहीं बचेगी to put in any other information. इतने सारे certifications है, and it's also pain for certification body like us, because cost of one qualification of one auditor ranges from 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees. So it's impossible that all certifications are possible, required, and that's where now the way GFSI did a benchmarking of food safety standard, there is a need to do benchmarking of sustainability labels, sustainability standard, because your one customer will say कि मुझे ये चाहिए, दूसरा कस्टमर बोलेगा नहीं नहीं मुझे उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, मुझे दूसरा चाहिए. लीप सर्टिफिकेशन, टेस्को में आपको सप्लाई करना है ऑयल, तो वो बोलेगा मुझे लीप सर्टिफिकेशन चाहिए. आपको दूसरी जगह जाना है तो बोलेगा नहीं मुझे RTRS चाहिए. देर आर so many other things, RSPO चाहिए, there are so many other things that comes in. Next one. Yeah. Now, what is coming up with respect to oil industry? The regulatory requirement which I was talking about. How many of you have heard of this EUDR? Can you just put in the chat box, we know about EUDR? Very good.
Chinmay, we need to be a little
Yes,
fast because other two speakers are
yeah.
lined up.
So EUDR is European Union Deforestation Regulation, and this is going to, if we don't, and the compliance rate, if you go to the next one is, I mean, if you see here, is with respect to 30th December for the large industries, and for the small industries, it is 30 June 2026. What does it mean? That अगर हम इसको comply नहीं करते हैं, तो soybean related, whether it is meal, whether this is lecithin or any other textured protein, we cannot export to Europe. It will be completely, our European market will be completely banned. Next one. Now, what does this mean? There are criteria. So these are the 7 commodities, but हमारे industry से related जो है वो soybean है. Next one. पाम ऑयल भी है, सॉरी पाम ऑयल भी है. सो आई फॉरगॉट दैट पार्ट, बट पाम ऑयल इंडिया में प्रोड्यूस नहीं हो रहा, इसलिए मैंने पाम का नाम नहीं लिया था, बट सोया डेफिनेटली. सो नटशेल, देयर इज अ रिस्क risk assessment has to be done with respect to all these parameters which you are seeing here, and basis of this risk parameters इसमें अंदर में आपको वो दिखेगा third party verification, इसके अंदर में audit and inspections है, and post these things then you will get a DDS, that is the due diligence statement, which has to be uploaded, next one, with every consignment. Okay, if that due diligence statement is not available with the consignment, we cannot export any soya or palm related stuff to Europe. And this is happening from 30 December 2025 for the large industries. Next one. So those products which are there in the market, they would be either taken out, और definitely new तो नहीं होगा, but जो existing है वो भी निकल जाएंगे. इसका सीधा मतलब है कि जो हमारा cultivation land है, that land is not from the deforested land from last 4 years. That is what needs to be demonstrated, including geotagging, including many other things. And for soybean, this is something which is a most critical one, क्योंकि हमारा काफी सारा सोया मिल इसके अंदर यूरोप में एक्सपोर्ट होता है. Next one. Okay, so that's the certification world, and you need to know your you need to choose your certification body logically. I mean, I take it that certification is a tool for to be wisely used for business performance. That's from my side. Next one. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chinmay, for wonderful presentation. We will pick up the questions at the end of all the three presentations. So I request now Ganesh, we can start Sachin or Dr. Sanjay, who is ready. So thank you, Chinmay. It was a wonderful. In meantime, when Ganesh is putting up presentation, so I think for the oil industry, validation is most important, and the certification and particularly sustainability part that you said. This is really interesting, and exports from India and what are the compliances for respective country, particularly Europe. So let's hear out during the question answer. Now we'll over to Sachin Achintalwar for the licensing. Yeah, Sachin.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Friends, Sachin is one-man army for the licensing and registration, import, export. So he is one food technologist with 25 years of experience in the quality regulatory, and now he has built up his own brand. So thank you, Sachin, for joining, and over to you.
Thank you,
can
sir.
do the power presentation.
Yeah, thanks, sir, for giving me an opportunity. Thanks to SCA also for giving me an opportunity for delivering a talk on FSSAI licensing, which is one of the critical aspect for any food business, and in particular oils and fat, because here we are talking about oils and fat food business operators. So today my presentation is entirely around the FSSAI licensing. What are the issues and challenges being faced by all the FBOs, and in particular oils and food fat FBOs. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the agenda of my today's presentation is I'll just quickly brief you about the overview of the FSS Act. I'll not take much of the time because as most of us know about this, recap of the overall licensing and registration of food business in particular, how the transition has happened from the erstwhile FLRS, which is the food licensing and registration system, to the completely newly revamped and the quite comprehensive system, which is called as a FOSCOS, which is Food Safety and Compliance System. Then I'll also quickly brief you about the overview of the FOSCOS, what are the key features and what are the key changes which has happened over a period of time from the time the FOSCOS has been launched. From to be precise, the FOSCOS is launched from November 2020. So from last 4 years, what are the changes has happened? I'll just quickly tell you about that and what kind of challenges being faced by the food business operators, especially the manufacturers, repackers, and relabelers in particular. And then the floor will be open for the Q&A. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so this is one single slide which basically tells you about how the whole food supply chain works and which are the FBOs, which the food business operators are actually applicable for license, or who are the food business operators who are eligible for getting the FSSAI license depending on their eligibility criteria. So as you know, it's a 3-tier structure, basically registration, which is basically also from state as well as central. Why I'm saying registration from central is basically for the FBOs whose annual turnover is below 12 lakhs, but who are operating into the central government establishments like the airports or the seaports or the defense canteens and all. Then the state license, which is basically issued by, or the entire management, it is managed by the state food safety authorities. So in certain state, it is called the Food and Drug Administration. In certain state, it is called the FDCA. In certain states, it's called the Department of Health. And then there is a central licensing that is basically also by the central FSSAI, and it is also operated from regions. So every region has a regional headquarter, and under that region, the particular states are being managed, and every region has a different designated officer for respective states for managing the whole, for ensuring the compliance and the enforcement, the licensing from a central licensing perspective. So in a nutshell, in the entire supply chain, except the farmers and consumers, all the stakeholders, starting with mandi, starting with depots, the suppliers, then the manufacturers, the distributors, the transporters, the retailers, everyone in the supply chain need a FSSAI license or registration depending on their eligibility criteria. I'm just reiterating, except consumers and farmers, everyone in the supply chain needs the FSSAI license to run their food business or to commence their food business. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a brief about what FBOs will fall under as registration and which FBOs will fall under licensing. So basically, as I mentioned, the FBOs which are actually which is called as a petty food business operator, as per the FSSAI parlance is concerned, where if your annual turnover is below 12 lakh, then you need to go and obtain the registration from the state FDA or the central authorities, depending on your eligibility. And the form which needs to be filled is Form A, and the license is issued in Form B. As far as the licensing is concerned, it is again a 2-tier licensing. As I mentioned, it is from the state authority as well as from the central authority. For example, if you are a manufacturer of a standardized product, and if your capacity is up to 2 metric ton per day, then you can obtain the state license. And if it is more than 2 metric ton per day, then you can obtain the central license. And again, there are many categories in which you need to only obtain the central license. But as far as the state licensing is concerned, even though it is not related to oil and fat, but just as a brief, so those FBOs who are engaged in the cereals and cereal processing like dal, rice, and flour and atta, so that will continue to be regulated by state only, even though the capacity is more than 2 metric ton per day. And as well as the storage is concerned, for example, if you are operating a warehouse, or if you are leasing a warehouse, or if you are a storage operator of the warehouse, so if your capacity is more than 50,000 metric ton, then it goes to central. If it is below 50,000 metric ton, it goes to state. And for example, for a distributor, if your annual turnover is more than 30 crore, you have to take a central FSSAI license. If it is below, you have to take a state FSSAI license. Next slide, please. Yeah, so these are the FBOs for which you need a FSSAI central license. So to be specific on the oil processing units, if you read the second point here, it's vegetable oil processing units and the units producing the vegetable oil. If your capacity is more than 2 metric ton per day, as I mentioned, you have to obtain the central license. If it is below 2 metric ton per day, you have to obtain the state license. And then there are many other categories for which the central license is required. So to be specific, the categories like imports as well as exports, and in export also you have merchant exporter, you have manufacturer exporter, you have export oriented unit. So all these FBOs needs the central FSSAI license irrespective of their turnover. All the FBOs who are into the nutraceutical business, if you're operating in 2 or more state, you need a central license. And also the FBOs who are actually operating under the central government agencies like railways, airport, seaport, defense, all FBOs needs their license or registration from central authority, depending on their eligibility criteria. And one more important thing is related to the radiation processing of food. Again, irrespective of the turnover or capacity, if you're using any radiation processing for your articles of food, whether it is a raw material or a finished product, you need to obtain the central license from the central FSSAI authorities. Next. Yeah. So this is the fee structure for the registration. For registration, there is a flat fee of 100 rupees per year. You can go for minimum 1 year or maximum 5 years tenure. From a licensing standpoint, as I mentioned, for the central licensing, there is a flat fee of 7,000 rupees per year plus the GST. The GST has been introduced a couple of years back by FSSAI. And as far as the state licensing is concerned, it is divided into two parts. If your capacity is up to 1 metric ton per day, or for example, for milk, there is a different criteria. Then the capacity above 1 metric ton, it is 5,000 rupees per year. And if it is up to 1 metric ton per day, it is 3,000 rupees per year. And for hotels who are actually 3-star and above, it is 5,000 rupees per year. Yeah, next. Yeah, so this is what we have just discussed about the licensing eligibility criteria. So in the interest of time, if someone has any particular question, we can always take that question at the end of the session. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so these are the conditions of license. And as you know, as most of the FBOs, who are participants here, you must have attended your license or registration. So nowadays, what has happened from the time the licensing has been shifted from FLRS to FOSCOS, and the license which is granted by FSSAI, which is generated from the FOSCOS system, it is purely a digitized system, and there is no hard copy of the license. So the moment you get your license, you will see these 14 conditions at the end of license. So please note that at any given point of time during your licensing tenure, you have to ensure that you are complying to all these 14 conditions of license. So this also includes, and most of the FBOs are now started facing challenges in terms of the new requirements being introduced in terms of annual returns, which is obviously an annual exercise which you have to file online on FOSCOS, which we'll discuss in the next slide. Then there are requirements about the 6 monthly lab report uploading on FOSCOS if you're a manufacturer, repacker, or a relabeler. For that, basically, it is for the 2 cycle. If the products are produced between April to September of every year, your reports has to be uploaded on FOSCOS by end of October. And if you're produced between October to March of every year, the report has to be uploaded by end of April on the FOSCOS portal. So there is a separate tab on the FOSCOS portal. Another important thing is the 6 monthly lab report testing. As I mentioned, the uploading is one part, but now as this requirement has been made mandatory, so all the products which are licensed in your license, if you have produced all the products which is indicated in your license or the categories, you have to get your product tested only for the products which are produced during that period. For example, if you have 5 products in your license, and out of that only 3 products are produced between April to September. So only for those 3 products, you can get your product tested from an external FSSAI approved NABL accredited lab, or FSSAI notified or NABL accredited lab for the applicable parameters, and same needs to be uploaded in the FOSCOS portal for that period. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so I'll just quickly throw some light on the annual return parts. So as you know, previously there was an offline annual return. Now it is completely online from to be precise, from last 3 financial years, from FY 22-23, FSSAI made the annual return completely online on the FOSCOS portal. The form is called as a Form D1. Erstwhile, there were 2 forms, Form 1 and Form D2. Now it has been changed to completely a single form, which is Form D1, that is irrespective of the FBO. Previously, there were returns, biannual returns for the dairy industry as well as the meat industry. And even for exports, there was a quarterly return, but now everything has been made online. And please note, Form D1, which is the annual return filing, is mandatory for manufacturers, repackers, relabelers, manufacturer exporters, and importers. There is no need to file return for merchant exporters. And also one important thing, what you need to understand, what you keep in mind, irrespective of whether you're produced, not produced, you have to file. Let's say if you have obtained a license in the month of February, and the return has to be filed for the financial year. So the financial year will end in March. So even if you are not produced, still you have to file the nil return. If you don't file returns by 31st of May for the preceding financial year, there will be a penalty of 100 rupees per day of delay. Another important initiative which has been taken by FSSAI. So previously there was a flat delay penalty of 100 rupees per day of delay. And let's say by mistake, if you have not filed your return, and if it is piled up for 2 years, so earlier the penalty was calculated per day. Now what has happened, basis representation from the industry and to have a ease of doing business and reduce the financial burden, so they have capped the penalty. And if your returns delay, if you file after, even if it is delayed by 1 year also, your delay penalty shall not cross beyond 5 years of the licensing fee, depending on the state license or a central license. So just to reiterate, you have to file your return by 31st May for your respective products, which is basically imported, manufactured in that financial year, before 31st of May on the FOSCOS portal in Form T1. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. So as I was mentioning, that there is a complete transformation in the way the licensing, the whole mechanism has been granted, has been designed by FSSAI. So this is the system, which is called as a FOSCOS system. So what are the key features? So it's a robust and technically advanced application. It is focused on ease of doing business. Why I'm saying focus on ease of doing business, it's not only granting the license, it also encompasses annual return, lab report uploading, the latest the upcoming requirement of quarterly submission of rejected and basically the rejected data and return data of the products. And it is built with the integral capabilities to merge with other IT system. And recently they have also introduced a requirement of PAN linkage for all the FBOs. So it is basically to linking with all other central government agencies, so that it can be centralized. FSA can track, or the authorities can track centrally the entity, food business entity, with a click of button. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is basic process. We can skip this. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So what are the objectives of FOSCOS? It is improved service delivery, technology upgrade, enhanced communication. So all the FBOs are getting targeted targeted messages, targeted email communications regarding your timely renewal of filing of return. Whenever the license is submitted, you will get a text, or you'll get a message as well as email that your license is submitted. Whenever you get a query, you'll get basically the email alert from FSA that you have submitted your queries. And once the license is granted, also you're getting a automated messages basically generated from FOSCOS. And even there are many other activities for which the FSSAI is sending the alerts to the respective FBOs. Next detail, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So these are the new features. I'll skip this slide in the interest of time, but like what we have already discussed. So it has improved operational capabilities, enhanced technology platform, and user-centric approach. So previously, I'll just quickly tell one more important aspect here. So previously, during FLRS, under one login, you can file multiple licenses or registration. But now, basis the representation from the industry, and many a times you might be using services from others, or you might have forgot the user ID and password. So what now FSSAI has done, for every new application, you can create a separate login, and separate you can track your basically the license or registration through your separate login for that particular license. So till the time your license is not granted, your application reference number is the login number or a user ID. And once the license is granted, your license number is the user ID, which is the 14-digit license number. And the password, obviously, you can change at any given point of time, depending on your requirement. Next slide, please. Yeah. So what are the major changes which has happened? And this is where the most of the FBOs are facing challenges, who are not completely well versed to the process. So though there is a simplified login page for the petty business operator, however, for the FBOs who are into basically the standardized category or a proprietary food, they have to actually select an appropriate tab while filing the license, or while filing the particular category or subcategory, and how to submit the statement of ingredient and additives. And also there are specific formats introduced by FSSAI depending on the type of FBO. Let's say if you are importing, there are certain additional requirements. If you are exporting, you have to give certain additional declarations. If you're into e-commerce business, you have to give certain additional templates or certain additional declaration. So that way the process has been simplified, the process has been very well documented, and it's all the templates are also given in the FOSCOS system. But it's just that you have to educate yourself a bit, so that you're filing in the right manner, in the right tab, so that you can avoid or you can minimize number of queries from the respective licensing authorities post filing the license. And another important thing is the inspection report. So as you know, there are a lot of enforcement actions being introduced by FSSAI, and even all the inspection reports, the enforcement sampling, all the sample reports, improvement notices, everything is being routed through FOSCOS, and you're getting an alert, and you can then submit your response even through FOSCOS itself by going to the specific tab. And previously, there were challenges in terms of the formats till the time FLRS was there, and the complete rollout was not there. So from the time FOSCOS is introduced and it is being adopted across the country, including the union territories, so the format of licenses and registration is common, uniform across the country. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the login page for FOSCOS. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is what I was actually mentioning. So you have to ensure that you are filing your license in the correct KOB, correct tab. Let's say for as per as your vegetable and oil processing units is concerned, so to be precise, so you just select on vegetable oil and processing units. If you are a FBO into the vegetable oil and processing units, please note this vegetable oil and processing units tab is for manufacturers, repackers, and relabelers. And obviously for wholesale, retail, storage, and all that, you can select the common category, which is a generic category. And then after submitting all the requisite documents, then you can submit your license application on the FOSCOS portal by paying the necessary government fee. Next slide, please. Yeah, then this is the standardized product for manufacturers. So basically, the moment you enter the category, then you have to also enter the subcategory. And then for standardized product, you will find the product tab for the products which are standardized. So you have to just tick mark whichever the products which you are actually planning to manufacture or for which you have the infrastructure in place. You just select only those products for which you have an infrastructure or the machineries or the equipments in place, and then you select that, and then you move to the next window after submitting the particular tab under the standardized product for grouping. So let's say you are under a biscuit manufacturing. So you just select biscuits. You can manufacture whatever kind of biscuits complying to the applicable norms for biscuits. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here, basically, even though this slide is not exactly related to the oil and fat industry, but please note, as far as the renewal is concerned, renewal is quite now simplified. It's quite instant. You just need to submit your required document, the checklist, and the license is granted instantly. So there were challenges by the FBOs earlier for the renewal, which has been taken care. Another important initiative what FSSAI has taken as far as the licensing is concerned, for low risk categories also, if you submit the required documents, then the license application won't get scrutinized by the FBO. It will also get instantly generated, but you need to understand the whole process. Apart from that, what another important initiative what FSSAI has introduced for, let's say if you're manufacturing 10 different products, and when you applied for 10 different products, and if you're facing challenges or queries from two or three products, so what FSSAI has done, you as a FBO can delete those 3 products and go ahead with the remaining 7 products, get the license, so that your business should not get hampered. And after that, whenever you need, then subsequently you can apply for the modification and add those remaining 3 products for which you are getting the queries. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So yeah, so now over a period of time, from the time this FOSCOS system has been introduced.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
आपने ज्वाइन किया ना वो सेशन?
सारे प्लीज म्यूट करो बाकी लोग. Thank you. Ganesh, you can mute everyone except speaker.
Yes, sorry. Yeah. So basically, I'll just quickly highlight about the kind of challenges being faced by FBOs in the past from the time FOSCOS was introduced, and there are new features or new requirements have been introduced. So the category mapping of standardized products, example oils and fats or non-specified food, the proprietary foods, the nutraceuticals. So here what is happening is basically when you are filing your license for a particular category or a subcategory, you have to ensure that you are also, apart from the generic requirements, you are also complying to the specific requirements. For example, for oils and fats, manufacturers or repackers, having an in-house lab is mandatory, and you have to submit the details of lab. Sometimes even authorities ask for the equipment and machinery photos of the laboratory equipments for the oil and fat industry. So if you don't submit that, If you don't submit that, then there will be a delay in licensing, granting the license. Yeah. Yeah. Another important thing, what has happened over a period of time is that FSSAI has started taking all the details of MOA, AOA during the initial licensing phase, but subsequently when you are actually applying for the modification of license or new addition of categories, even in many cases, authorities are going back to the basic documents, company related documents, and raising the queries, which is technically it should not be raised at that point of time because the license is granted basis the initial scrutiny at the initial time. But these are all the challenges which is being faced. And also there are challenges for the vegan products, but obviously that is something not related, but just quickly sum up here. So in case of vegan products, so it's a highly cumbersome process as well as the dual endorsing, because first you have to get it endorsed from the central authority. Then there will be followed by audit from central authority. Then again, you have to get your products endorsed from the state authority, the regional licensing authority as a secondary endorsement. So unless and until you don't have dual endorsing,
Sachin, I think can we conclude because we have an open house
next,
also. No? Yeah,
yes,
thank
sir, next, last slide, sir. Next, yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. So as far as the relabelers are concerned, so if you are getting your product manufactured from a third party in your brand, so your the major challenges which are faced by the relabelers, including the oil and fat FBOs, is basically the authorities who are granting the license or scrutinizing the license application for relabeler KOB. That has most of the times it has been treated as a manufacturers, and many of the requirements which are not applicable for relabeler are being asked for the relabelers, and even it has been re-scrutinized the way it has to be basically the way it has to be scrutinized for manufacturers. So all these challenges and issues have been represented to FSSAI from time to time, and many actions or many initiatives has been taken by FSSAI for ease of doing business. And but yeah, it's a continuous process, and whenever you approach FSSAI, obviously they will support you in terms of resolution for the same. So thanks. So next slide, please. I think that's over. Oh yeah, sorry. Just go back. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Sachin. It was
Just
wonderful.
1 minute.
Yeah.
So there are two important requirements which has been introduced by FSSAI in the recent past. One is the mandatory plan compliance, which I already mentioned. So without actually updating the PAN details, you're not able to file the license, or you're not able to file the renewal or modification. And another important order which has been issued by FSSAI just last month, though it is yet to be operationalized, is related to the provision of quarterly submission of data regarding rejected and expired food products. So very soon this option will get enabled in FOSCOS, and like the way you have to file annual return annually, 6 monthly lab report upload, now you have to also submit your quarterly data for rejected and expired food once the option is enabled in FOSCOS. Yeah.
Thank you, Sachin. I think it was wonderful presentation. And though the licensing is a very old requirement now, over 10 years, 12 years, FSSAI has been now part of the system. But FOSCOS is something really new. So all those who are online, what are the new things which we need to remember is that about 6 monthly testing report to be uploaded, then the relabeler requirement, and now the third which Sachin had just mentioned about rejection. So Dr. B.V. Mehta, and if President Sir is online, or Ajay ji, this requirement we need to actually discuss internally and also find out what is the impact on the oil industry, because oil, there is no such thing like rejection, because everything is if it is a crude, it has to be reprocessable. So we need to really, it is not like other product where it goes into the waste, because it is a national waste if you send it to directly the ETP, and it is not possible to process such kind of big oil. So thank you, Sachin. We will discuss during the open question. Now I request Dr. Sanjay Indani sir to talk about FSMS and also the new requirement of the FSSAI. And if you can be in 10 minutes, please.
Yes, thank you very much. So good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible and clear. And thanks, C team, Dr. Mehta and all other dignitaries for providing me opportunity to present this. So you can go straight away to next third slide, I think. I'm Dr. Sanjay Indani. I'm from Ask Safe Food Solutions Private Limited, and I'm into auditing, training, and consulting. I'm national level resource person for FSSAI. So I think next slide. Next. Yeah. So the GMP GHPs, these are basically included in Schedule 4 requirements. Okay, and the Schedule 4 is very, very significant, as Chinmay has said that okay, GFSI came into picture, and they said that okay, certain standards they don't follow the specific requirements, and that is why they are not benchmarked. So Schedule 4 plays a very significant role because these are bottom line. These are, you can say, foundation for food safety on which the food safety is laid down. So that is why it is mandatory, and it is one of the conditions. As Sachin has said, there are 14 conditions. So this is one of the conditions of licensing which you have to adhere to the requirements. Most of the time in industry, this becomes obvious. Over the period of time, we are every day implementing personal hygiene, pest control, and a number of things, and it becomes obvious to the team that okay, we are implementing this, and that is where the ignorance starts, and that is where the problem starts. So hence it is mentioned that you have to have a stringent control on the Schedule 4 requirements and monitoring and verification activities of Schedule. Yeah, next slide. Next slide. So certainly, as the part of ease of doing business, you have to do business risk management, and your role of Schedule 4 plays a significant role where you have to identify the opportunities and work on it. Next. So I have included all GHPs here. So starting with infrastructure, starting with layout. Okay. What is significant is you might be implementing it, you might be daily monitoring it. What is important is you need to maintain records. The regulation says that there should be adequate documentation of all these aspects, and there should be record keeping of these aspects. Okay, so all the GHPs under Schedule 4, you need to have a proper record keeping and proper documentation. Not only this, what is important is annual review and verification of the compliances to Schedule 4 requirements, because these GHPs, GMPs are nothing but controls. We are controlling different kinds of hazards by implementing these. So you need to look into whether this control is sufficient, adequate, or do I need to improve upon this. Many times we look into the processes, and where we find that whatever controls has been established under the GHP, they are not in place, they are not adequate, they are not sufficient. So here you need to improve upon those controls, modify those controls, update those controls, and implement it to the next level. So may it be process parameter, may it be labeling requirements, because this is really versatile, and you need to update the labeling requirements, conditions, okay, every time. You might be talking about cleaning, sanitization. Now the disinfection words, thanks to the properties of oils and fats, okay, unless and until there are value added products, okay, the oil itself is stable to the microorganism, so not much worry about the sanitization. But yes, disinfection as far as personal hygiene is concerned, yeah, it is required. Management of waste, okay, management of hygiene, personal hygiene, maintenance activities, various testing aspects, and documentation and records. So all these aspects are significant, important. On the top of this, really one of the important concern is about training. Training, we have seen a lot many trainings being done, records are being maintained, but what about the effectiveness? So that's why the regulation also talks about the effectiveness of training. Okay, so training of all the GHPs, it's an ongoing process which you need to understand, which you need to implement, and see that it is being maintained meticulously and the processes are followed. So day in, day out, we require people to understand this, and that's why we need to see that the training through different methodologies, modules need to be conducted. That can be awareness training, that can be on-the-job training, OJTs, the training for the specific processes, for specific hygiene requirements, and the effectiveness need to be maintained. Because over and above, the standards are looking for more than simple training, the effectiveness, and further going into the habits, change of mindset. Okay, that is what is expected. So Schedule 4 need to be looked into because of two requirements. One, this is a conditions of licensing, and second, these are used as inspection criteria. As mentioned by Sachin, okay, if there is an inspection, if there is an audit by authority, Schedule 4 becomes a criteria for the inspection. And we have seen many places in the industry, there is shortcoming on the Schedule 4 compliances and the score goes down, okay, and that lead to a lot of problems in the improvement notices. So we need to focus, we need to see that every time we comply to these requirements. Based on your processes, based on the areas, you need to improve the practices, may it be infrastructure, may it be personal hygiene, because many times we see that people say, okay, this is my closed process, so I'm not going to implement. So there should be proper justification for that. There should be proper risk assessment of that process, where you find out that there is no any aspect which is going to hamper to the food safety. So this is what we need to look into, and you have to do an internal assessment. We can call it as internal audit. So internal assessment for Schedule 4 requirements, for compliances of the GHP requirements. That can be once in 3 months, once in 6 months. Some industries, they have even once in a month inspection being done for this. But that inspection should be so meticulous that we identify the improvements out of this and we keep on improving. Because simply a checklist based audit will not work, where we need to look into the cross-functional aspect, and we need to see that these compliances are meticulously understood, implemented, and verified during the audit process. And that will give us a strength in the food safety, because if you look at most of the complaints, customer complaints, they are related to your physical hazards, very rarely chemical or microbiological hazards. And that is where the role of GHPs, that is Schedule 4, comes in picture. So significantly, as a quality person, as a production person, as everyone in the industry, we need to focus on the compliances of Schedule 4, and we see that we follow these requirements to match to the above level, because these are minimum requirements, and there are many other standards like mentioned by Chinmay, GFSI recognized benchmark standards. So they mention certain higher requirements, and certainly next time when the Schedule 4 is going to be under revision, okay, we will have more surprises, more aspects included from the international standards. So better we look into this, we work on this meticulously and start implementing. So that is what about Schedule 4 we need to understand and we need to improve. So thank you very much. Over to you.
Dear Prabodh, are you there? I think just hold on. What happened? I think Prabodh line got disconnected. I think we can start the
question. I think. That's how to say this question. Uh, in I think Dr. Halder's line got disconnected. Ms. Chinmay, I think we can start with the questions here.
Yeah, sure. So
Uh,
shall I read and direct it to the respective panelists?
yeah, I think
Okay.
I
So
think.
can I do that? Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
please.
first
Go on.
question is to Sanjay. Sanjay, this is, I think, Tanmaya is asking that if we are a specialty fat manufacturer, then we dispatch our product in tankers and containers to, domestically and internationally. Do we need transporter's license? And if so, who is providing that? So I think, no, it's a license. So Sachin, it's for you.
Yeah. So basically, as I mentioned during my presentation, is that entire supply chain, including the transporters, which includes primary transporters as well as the secondary transporters, needs to obtain the FSSAI transporter license. And just to add to that, if the respective transporter is having a fleet of vehicles up to 100 number of vehicles, they have to take state license. If their fleet of vehicle is more than 100, then they have to take central license. So please note, it is not a vehicle-based license. In one application, you can mention all the vehicle details, including the RC details and everything, whatever is being asked as per the FOSCOS system, and you can get a one single transporter license covering all the vehicle details which you are using under your fleet. Hope that answers the particular question.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay, and hope Tanmaya, your question is answered. Mr. RP Singh is asking, what about rejected bath reprocessing? We know that after reprocessing, it comes under the standard.
Rejected what?
Rejected bath reprocessing. So, Mr. RP Singh, if you can unmute and ask the question.
So, Chinmay, I will just answer this question.
Okay.
Basically, this is a part of the process, and we have not yet finalized the SOP. Though the FSSAI has said that they are coming out with some kind of procedure for collecting this data, but they are asking for the input. So this is a point which, as an oil industry, we need to work and give them detailed information in what fashion we want to do. So please wait. We have not yet finalized, and FSSAI has not yet finalized this particular part, how to notify to them. But as far as your internal SOP is concerned, you can share with the Solvent Extraction Association.
Okay. Prabodh, would you like to read, or shall I continue reading this?
No, you continue. You continue.
Okay, thank you. The next question from, Mr. RP Singh is again, is there a list of QC equipments in the lab for FSSAI as per FSSAI? Is there scale to measure hygiene conditions? And is there time interval period for training in FSSAI? So Sanjay, over to you.
See, basically training, it is not specified except for STAC, which is a mandatory requirement, which has to be done once in 2 years. But internal training, you can decide based on your own observations, findings, okay, deviations, because you will have internal verification mechanism of process controls of product and different tests being performed. So if you find that, okay, there is a deviation, you need a training there. Okay, if there is new person entering, you need a training there. So it has to be decided by organization. So there is no specific frequency given by FSSAI for training. As far as laboratory equipments are concerned, yes, the laboratory manual is given, and based on that, you need to assess what are the equipments are required. Okay.
Hygiene scale.
Hygiene scale you have to design, you have to define that. Maybe you make a checklist and give scoring, so you can have your own hygiene scoring methodology adopted, which you can refer the checklist which is given by FSSAI for advanced manufacturing, and based on that you can have a hygiene scoring done. Yeah, I hope this is the question is answered.
Okay, Aditya is asking what is the best source to know basics of FSSAI certification. So just to restate again, it's not certification, FSSC certification, FSSAI license. So please don't confuse between the two. So is there any suggestions, please? So I think maybe instead of directing it, I would say that post this webinar, you can get in touch with Dr. Prabodh, Sachin, Sanjay, and also see to know what exactly, because it's really a broad topic. As Prabodh, I could see you say, you can access the questions
Yeah.
to take further. Yeah.
So what we'll do now, we will go for some kind of. So, Dr. Mehta, how much time we have? Is half an hour, Dr. Mehta or
Yeah,
Ganesh?
we'll finish by 5:30. So another 25 minutes.
25 minutes. Okay. So we would like to have some panel discussion. So Sanjay and Sachin and Chinmay, first we would like to thanks. It was a wonderful presentation. All three of you have given a good insight, though it was in a short time, but I think the crux of the information is very clear. And Solvent Extraction Association members deals in the oils and fat. It is very important to know what are the updates about the FSSAI and their regulations. Now our panel discussion topic, and most of the business responsible people also have joined. So we would like to have a panel. So all these three panel, first we would like to thanks to Chinmay, Sanjay and Sachin. And I could not introduce to you, I should have done, but my flight got delayed by 1.5 hours and it really had impacted. So I hope all the three are ready for the panel discussion. Chinmay, can I? Yeah, great. So, guys, those who are participants, Chinmay, Dr. Sanjay, and Sachin, they have 25 plus 30 years experience, individual capacity, and they have handled so many clients. They have trained so many people, and they have seen the businesses continuously. Sanjay and Chinmay, part of the solvent extraction, our committee of regulatory, and they are actually supporting our clients also, our members also. Sachin, we also wish you also should join us as an expert capacity,
Sure,
so
sir.
you can able to help our member. So my first question to all of you: you have seen the businesses, you have seen the FSSAI. So individually, I'm coming to Chinmay, Sanjay, and Sachin. Now, what are those mantras you want to pass it to our association members? What is changing and what we should adopt? Because the FSSAI changing so fast, yeah, they are bringing so many regulations. So what are those mantra? So quickly, if you can say, starting with Chinmay, then Dr. Sanjay, and then Sachin, which we should adopt as a businessman, because this committee members, those who have joined, are not only from regulatory or quality or technical, they're also business people. So one or two line of mantras or support suggestions. Over to you, Chinmay.
Okay, so I would say from my certification perspective, backward linkages has becoming extremely critical. Gone are the days when we would say that, okay, I'm the trader or I'm just a manufacturer. I don't have any backward linkages. And that has become extremely critical right now, especially for some crops. It's not just the customer requirement anymore. It's also a regulatory requirement. Regulations becoming so stringent nowadays. And as I said, sustainability footprints are becoming, it's something like what we started 20 years back with food safety. It is almost the same thing. And the most important challenge for everyone is that backward linkages, without which the demonstrations are becoming challenging. And I gave example of EUDR, but there are other three regulations which are also changing with carbon farming and other thing. And many of our members are doing international business. So I would say that the regulation, one part is our normal, operational aspect, and the second part is the chain of custody part. And unless we work together, Okay, it's not individual anymore. It's unless we work together on chain of custody aspects, we all are going to suffer with respect to our business, and especially from exports perspective. And I'm not just saying export, but even with SEBI coming in picture for listed companies, even that is also going to be, domestically required. So that's from my side, at a macro level, that we need the backward linkages.
Thank you, Chinmay, for this, and definitely this is a very important point. And the entire listed companies, the requirement of the compliances, the SEBI compliance, and also for the export. So these are very, very important aspects. Over to Dr. Sanjay Indani, sir.
Sir, see, basically, the compliances towards GHPs, compliances towards Schedule 4, because many industries we have seen that the infrastructural challenges are there due to old structures. So whenever you are building new structure, new organization, please look into the compliances of Schedule 4 or GMP GHP right from the layout. Okay? Don't wait that once everything is completed, then you go for assessment. So that will add to the cost. So right from layout, you ensure that these compliances are made so that later on there is no cost to that. Secondly, the very important aspect is training of these aspects on day-to-day basis, on regular basis. Maybe it can be a toolbox talk or something like that. So develop a methodology and continuously hammer, because the food handlers, we need to train them, we need to monitor them, and that is what the key mantra to ensure that the compliances are met.
So it is basically a mindset and continual training to the people.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
very, very important. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Sachin, to you.
Yes, sir. So in addition to what Chinmay and Sanjay sir said, I'll just want to reiterate 2 or 3 important things. One is when earlier, I mean, at least 4 or 5 years back, when we used to obtain the license, it was like chalta hai, license le liya, kaam ho gaya. But it is not like that. So the moment you obtain the license, your work starts. So you have to continuously improve yourself. You have to comply to the conditions. You have to keep a tab on the latest development. You also need to ensure that you are complying to all the associated activities, and also the internal compliance as well as the external compliance, to avoid any regulatory challenges, because nowadays FSSAI has strictly started enforcing the requirements. They are doing multiple inspection, sending the improvement notices, and even they are regulating the advertisements not only on the product label but across the social media, including the new age platforms like influencer marketing and influencer and all. So it's basically a 360-degree approach you need to adopt so that you remain compliant on a regular basis. That's what I want to say from my end.
I think what you have said, Sachin, is very important. And of late, we have seen that FSSAI is sending the notices of Section 32 through the FOSCOS, and the compliance is also required to be uploaded. And one thing is very important, which you also have said, but I just want to emphasize to all the members. Earlier, there used to be the physical copy of notice. Now everything is routed through your license. It's like an American social security number. The moment anything happen to your social security, any non-compliance, it get attached to the social security. So now FSSAI is also sending the notices, and on one click, when you go for the renewal, certainly you will come to know how many license related queries are posted on your FOSCOS, and how many consumers have actually complained, and if any complaint has come, and that also got diverted to FOSCOS. So just want to take one more minute on this. It is not only FSSAI. There is a central actually
CCPA,
CCPA. Central Consumer
Protection Authority.
Protection Authority, CCPA, wherein if somebody is complaining about your product on CCPA collect everything and passes, if it is a food, to FSSAI, if it is a drug, to Drug Authority, if it is Ayurveda Authority, and then it will go into your FOSCOS. You may not know, because generally you will not visit the FOSCOS, and you will only visit the FOSCOS during the license renewal. And then the problem occurs, because you will see that if the complaint copy is posted in the FOSCOS, and if it is not addressed within that 30 days, it converts into Section 32 notice. And that is happening. So this is very, very important insights. We have to train somebody in your company to look at the first course at least once in a week. And do not rely on consultant. Consultants are important. Consultants are important, but you do not have any replacement with your own people training. So consultants are like a torch, but you have to have somebody who understand how to use the torch. So please do not give everything to consultants saying that aap hi hamara sambhal lo, which was the mindset earlier. So this is very important. Thank you, Chinmay, thank you, Sanjay ji, and thank you. We have still more time, and there are 3 questions. I think I will answer those questions. Laboratory test for the expired product is not required, but I don't know in what context it is being asked. Then refined palm oil, yes, is a special vehicle. You need to have a license. Then FSCC certificate is not compulsory, as Dr. Chinmay has said. It is a voluntary certificate. FSSI license is compulsory. And to stay up the date with the rapid changes in FSSI, there is a newsletter? Yes. In fact, solvent extraction keeps sending you the updates regularly if you are following the solvent extraction. Otherwise, go to the FSSI website and you will get all the news update automatically there. So they also have a very good media page, but otherwise solvent extraction keeps sending. Now I come to one last round of questions. So Chinmay, you have talked about the certification, you have talked about the importance of the certification. But finally, business is business, Chinmay. You want to share any commercial upliftment because of the certification has happened, like some kind of gain any company has made because of the certification, sustainability. So because finally compliance is not a hygiene, compliance is also the business growth. And the certification is certainly can play important role in the business growth. And we would like to know how we can gain our business or improve our business, and that to commercial upliftment through the certification. So any thought on that?
Yeah, right, Dr. Prabodh. I mean, many a times, I mean, the way Sanjay was saying that training is a cost. So similarly, certification is also seen as a cost by the companies. It's something that is, I mean, I call that as, certification is, it's like an उस तरह है ना था मतलब जो नाई यूज करते हैं ना उस तरह वैसा है. So if that उस तरह is with a proper barber, he can make the shave properly. And the same thing if it goes into, somebody, unskilled person, he can make a disaster. So certification is like that. So if I have to have confidence on my processes, I have confidence on my product and say that this is something that, yes, I have produced it properly, I have produced it as per the norms, and these are the evidences. And that's where certification comes in picture, because they help you to define how to, they streamline the chaos and make a very straight path if done, if implemented in a proper spirit. And that helps actually when, God forbidden, अगर कभी कुछ court cases होते हैं या कभी कुछ होते हैं, it is very, these systems helps in actually demonstrating your due diligence and compliances. So it's something like maybe it's not kind of must to have the certification, but it definitely helps in giving confidence to the stakeholder that things are in place because of this, because systems is in place. That's my side. And regarding whether what is the benefit that I have seen, so yes, the product certifications gain definitely good values. Energy footprints has its own values, IT security. So every certification is with some aim, and everywhere, there are tangible and intangible benefits.
Thank you, Chinmay. Thank you. So to Sanjay, how to upgrade the skills, because everybody consider the skilling is the very expensive, and nowadays nobody is giving at the lower cost. All costs have increased, and there is a huge pressure on the manpower also. You cannot excuse the people not working for 2 days, 5 days. How to upgrade the skill continuously, and is there is in a way where you can help us, you, Chinmay and Sachin together for solvent extraction people. So any point on this? Upskilling.
Professor,
Sanjay, are you there? Okay, Chinmay, have you heard this I think.
Yes.
Okay, I will
Yeah.
I will wait for Sanjay if he has. Sachin, there are instances where there are the notices which received by the or there is a delay in the licensing issuance. In
Yeah.
such cases, so what one should be doing it? So should we wait for more time or should we write to FSSAI? Because people get panicky. So in such cases where there is a query and you are not getting a license, so there is any remedy to approach to FSSAI or how the person will handle? Because then we end up going into the one of the agencies, and most of the agencies are not technical people. They are just like most of the. I'm not saying qualified are one which are very good, but non-qualified people. So how one should do that?
Yeah, so that's a very important question, and which is a major bottleneck for the FPOs in the food space, or even including the oil space. So what actually is happening is basically the way you are filing the license. That is basically very critical, because what we have observed in the last four plus years is, the if you don't file with appropriate document, with required documents, what authority expect or what authority has or issued from time to time. So this is where the major challenge comes. Another important thing, even after submitting that, if you are getting multiple queries related to a particular product, so as I mentioned, so basically if you are, let's say, if you are manufacturing 10 products, and if two of them are not for two products, if you are getting the queries, you can just remove those two products, get the license for remaining 8 products. And again, answer to your question, so if you are not able to resolve that, and if you are continuously getting multiple queries, so it is always better to meet them in person, explain your position, explain your technical justification, and I mean, in most of the cases, things are getting sorted.
This is very important advice which you gave, Sachin, and I have seen the people are suffering because of the relabeler, re-registration again and again, and then changing the license again and again. So anyway, we'll discuss it. So I hope if there is any question from the group, those who are attending, we will take 1 or 2 questions and then we'll go for vote of thanks. But it was a wonderful presentation and seminar, very, very apt and very, very important. If you want to take up that question, upskilling.
Yeah. So it's something that is it's again it's an excellent question. So Prabodh, somewhere there was a CEO of, I can't name the company, but the CEO of the company, and his manager came in and said that कि सर अभी हम ट्रेनिंग पे इन्वेस्ट नहीं करेंगे, ट्रेन करते हैं और आदमी छोड़ के चला जाता है, वापस हम उसी चक्कर में जाते हैं, इतना पैसा खर्च करते हैं और ट्रेनिंग देके आदमी चला जाता है. तो does not the CEO but the owner of that company said कि आप ऐसा क्यों सोचते हो, ये सोचो कि हमने कंट्री के लिए एक ट्रेन मैन पावर तैयार की है. So right, so we are improving that our industry, because we are training and those trained people are going outside and they're creating a good train force. So ट्रेनिंग जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि एजुकेशन कभी वेस्ट नहीं जाता है, ट्रेनिंग कहाँ से वेस्ट जाएगा? इट इज समथिंग विच इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर इवन, आई मीन, अदर इफ वी वर ओनर वोंट वी हैव अ स्किल पर्सन हायरिंग इट, राइट? सो अगर स्किल पर्सन है तो समवेयर वी आर इन्वेस्टिंग, समवेयर वी आर looking at that. So I think upskilling, training, in fact, related to regulations, related to process, related to new changes, related to customer, कितने सारे दुनिया में टॉपिक है जो हमारे बिजनेस से रिलेटेड है. छोटे छोटे ट्रेनिंग करें, बट देन दैट हेल्प्स इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अपलिफ्टमेंट. कस्टमर आते, वी आर पीपल आर एबल टू टॉक इन फ्रंट ऑफ देम. सो देर आर नंबर ऑफ बेनिफिट्स that an organization sees because of investment in training.
And thank you. Anybody has any question or suggestion? So we will take last 1 or 2 questions and then we'll go for vote of thanks. We'll close at 5:30 sharp.
So just to add one statement here, so training is not an expense, training is an investment, which will pay rich dividends to the organization and as well as to the individuals who are being trained.
So we have our ex-president Ajay Jhunjhunwala sir. If you are still there and I could see your name, Ajay ji, if you want to comment anything. Ajay ji, I am calling out the people from the list. Ajay ji, I could see Meena Mehta ma'am also very good. Yeah, Jay ji, go ahead.
प्रभु जी नमस्कार, सभी को नमस्कार। और मैंने पूरा सेशन नहीं अटेंड कर पाया मैं, क्योंकि एक दूसरा वेबिनार भी चल रहा था, लेकिन आई थिंक काफ़ी इंफॉर्मेटिव था। तीनों स्पीकर्स ने बहुत ही यूजफुल इंफॉर्मेशन शेयर की, एंड आई थिंक we will come back on this if we have any query. Right now, there is no question.
Thank you,
as of-
thank you, thank you, thank you. From the list, anybody, I also could see Koteshwara Rao is also there. Dr. Meena Mehta is also there. RP Singh Saab bhi hai. Okay, thank you. From there is a extremely sorry from my end. My flight got delayed and I could not welcome all the three speakers. Let me tell you, these three speakers are wonderful institution themselves in their own field, and they are also supporting a nation building. All are the national resources, and they are also the friend of ACA. So at one call, they have joined the seminar, and we'll take their expert experiences for our members. I request Dr. Mehta sir, if you can express the vote of thanks, please. Thank you.
Dr. Halde, Dr. Mehta is in an interview with Zee Business.
Okay,
So
okay.
he just
So
left out. Okay.
no problem. So you want to extend the vote of thanks, please? Otherwise, I will do. Yeah.
So please do it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So friends, thank you for joining. All the members, those who have joined, particularly at the short notice, we have planned it in last 10 days only. I would like to thanks to the BV Mehta sir, our president, Sanjay Asthana sir, for giving this opportunity. I also want to thanks to Ganesh ji and your IT team for conducting it. Special thanks to Chinmay, Dr. Sanjay, and Sachin. At one call, you have agreed, and you have actually whatever the allotment of the topic also you have not said no, and you have collected. I know the time given is considering the seminar pattern, we have divided 1.5 hours, and that's the interest lies nowadays because of the reel. No attention span has gone decreased, and it is only a few seconds. So keeping it seminar for the 3 hours, 4 hours, and that too online really become a difficult, and then there is no interest to the by the audience. So really, thank you to all the speakers. Wonderful. You will be given special appreciation. Please clap for all the three speakers. कम से कम ताली बजाने का आवाज आने दो. मैं मेरी तरफ से बजा रहा हूँ ताली. Unmute करके ताली बजाओ कम से कम. उतना तो कर सकते हैं. And yeah, and we have organized special coffee, tea, and breakfast snacks at your respective places wherever you are. So please enjoy that also, and look forward for one more interesting seminar, and maybe we will go for some training program and for uplifting our skills. Thank you. Take care. God bless. And all the presentations will be shared in the PDF form. So Ganesh, those who have actually sent the BCC copy to all, and I hope from the presentation side, you do not have any objection of sharing the presentation, correct? Chinmay and Sachin?
No, sir. No.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Chinmay. Bye. 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 Bye.